Hi and hello, my name is Zakia and I'll be covering the plant Western false asphodel. I'll be analyzing two sources. First is the primary source published in PNAS, shortened for the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The second source is a news story in the New York Times, which references the primary source throughout. So, what is a carnivorous plant? As defined by Britannica, a carnivorous plant is one which is especially adapted for capturing and digesting insects and other animals by means of ingenious pitfalls and traps. One very common and well-known carnivorous plant is the Venus flytrap. However, it was a shock to find that the Western false asphodel is a carnivorous plant, as its appearance didn't seem to point towards any traits that are common in this plant genre, like an odd structure and/or appearance, and vivid colors like in this picture of an American pitcher plant. This is all great information, but what does this have to do with the star of the show, the Western false asphodel? This news article covers the discovery of Triantha's carnivorous trait with the photo of the plant shown on the right. Its seeds had been sold in stores without anyone's knowledge of its newly discovered trait. It's a shock, as it lures pollinators to its white blossoms and is found in an environment where other carnivorous plants are located as well. Because of this, they must have found all the carnivorous plants, right? Well, after inspection, these plants were found to have sticky stems with hairs that secrete a digestive enzyme to pull phosphorus from insects. It's adapted to target small prey like mosquitoes and tiny flies, which you can see on the far right, and not larger insects like bees or butterflies. Triantha seems to not actively lure insects, but to use it as a defense tactic. It's kind of a win-win situation for the plant, being able to defend itself, which many flowers are unable to do so, while obtaining nutrients through an evolutionary process. Carnivorous plants absorb mineral nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen from animal prey to help them survive and compete successfully in low-nutrient environments. The motivation for this study was a speculation of an association between carnivory and loss of NDH genes, which regulates photosynthetic processes. Usually, catching insects with inflorescence stems is rare, so a study of stems of T. occidentalis was done with N-labeled insects to demonstrate nutrient uptake. These insects were fruit flies. Natural leaf nitrogen concentration of T. occidentalis was similar to a carnivorous plant and higher than two non-carnivorous plants at the same site. Experiments and data found that Triantha is acquiring nitrogen from prey and accumulates it in the flower stem and fruits. Comparing nitrogen input from soil to a non-carnivorous plant, 64% of Triantha leaf nitrogen comes from carnivory in preceding years, and for Drosera, 76% of leaf nitrogen comes from carnivory. This led the researchers to believe that Triantha is obtaining nearly as much leaf nitrogen as Drosera. As well as nutrient uptake, both of these plants display high phosphate activity from the secretion of glandular hairs on the stem. This was tested and yellow-green fluorescence in hairs of Triantha and Drosera were noted. On the y-axis we have the leaf nitrogen content, and on the x-axis we have carnivorous versus non-carnivorous plants. It was predicted that Triantha temporarily stores nitrogen in stem and fruit tissues, which was moved to the roots by the end of the season, then to leaves and organs this following year. So its leaf nitrogen content is less than many of the neighboring plants. However, we predict that carnivorous plants won't have a higher leaf nitrogen content than non-carnivores in the same habitat. They just gain a growth advantage due to the processes specific to carnivorous plants. The researchers conclude that T. occidentalis should be welcomed in the carnivorous plant field if it fits the fields we just delved into. Ideal environment which is sunny, moist, and low nutrient. Method of attracting prey, enzymatic digestion by phosphate, and a leaf nitrogen content higher than that of non-carnivorous plants in the same habitat. And so, researchers in this study predicted that T. occidentalis should be a part of the carnivorous plant field.